This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, friends, I just want to share with you a very short point because it's a very busy day for me, preparing for Tisha B'Av. But this was something I was interested in. It's not really relevant to the actual Sugya. It's more of a side point about somewhat of an interesting topic. The Gemara on Daf Kuf related two accounts, one of Reb Dimi and one of Reb Safra, that Reb Dimi's account was Rebbe Paskin like the Chachamim, that if Bezdin is off by more than a sixth, the sale is off. And Pirta, the son of Rabbi Elazar, the son of Pirta, the grandson of Reb Pirta Hagadol, said as follows. And then there's a version of Rav Safra that Rabbi wanted to do like the Chachamim, and Pirta, the son of Rabbi Elazar, and Pirta, the grandson of Reb Pirta Hagadol, said, Im kein ma koyach bezdin yafa. So I was wondering who this person was. His name is Pirta. He's the son of Rabbi Elazar, who's the son in turn of Pirta. So this individual is named after his grandfather. But the grandfather, we say Ben Benoy Shura Pirta Hagadol. Is the grandfather the grandson of Pirta Hagadol, or is Pirta himself the grandson of Reb Pirta Hagadol? And when it says Benoy Shura Elazar Ben Pirta, that grandfather Pirta is actually Reb Pirta Hagadol. Yeah, you hear my question? In other words, who's Reb Pirta Hagadol? The great-great-grandfather, or is just that another name for his grandfather? So I was learning Tosfos, and I couldn't really make heads or tails what Tosfos means. Right? You see the names in the Gemara? The Gemara says that Pirta, the son of Rabbi Elazar, Ben Pirta, and then it says Ben Benoy Shura Pirta Hagadol. So is that the grandfather Pirta was the grandson of Reb Pirta Hagadol, or is the grandfather Pirta really Reb Pirta Hagadol? So Tosfos doesn't really, it's not clear what Tosfos means. If you look at the language of Tosfos, Tosfos says, Pirta Benoy Shor Elazar and Pirta Peirush, Dahava Ben Benoy Shor Pirta Hagadol, who was the grandson of Reb Pirta Hagadol, Pirta Aviv Shor Elazar, Pirta, the father of Reb Elazar, who's the Kenoi Shalzeh, is the grandfather of this one.
It seems like Tosfos is saying that Pirta was the grandson of Pirta Hagadol.
So how do you read the words? Pirta, Aviv Shor Reb Elazar, Pirta, the father of Reb Elazar, is the grandfather of this Pirta who made this statement. And who's Pirta Hagadol? To who Ben Benoy Shel Pirta Hagadol, that's referring to the grandfather, yeah? Okay, I have a very interesting sefer. It's called Halichos Olam. Halichos Olam is a sefer of Klalei Shas. You know who wrote it? Halichos Olam was written by Reb Yeshua ben Yosef, and the commentaries on it are Klalei HaGemara, written by Rabbi Yosef Karoi himself, the Shulchan Aruch, and Yovin Shemua is Reb Shlomo Al-Ghazi. So Reb Shlomo Al-Ghazi in his Klalei Hashas has what to say about this Tosfos. Let me see if I could pull it up here. Why is this not working? 1 second. Share. Here. Okay. Yeah. Kesuvos, Daf Kuf, Tosfos, Ahad Kamar Amar Lefana Pirta, Benoy Shor Elazar ben Pirta ben Benoy Shor Reb Pirta Hagadol, V'zel Shaina, he quotes Tosfos, Pirta, Benoy Shor Elazar ben Pirta, Peirush, Dehu ben Benoy Shor Reb Pirta Hagadol. He is the grandson of Reb Pirta Hagadol, namely Pirta Aviv Shor Elazar Zekena Shalzeh. I guess the way you read Tosfos is This Pirta is like this. Pirta b'eminosh rozem Pirta. Perush. Dehu, he, who's he? He is ben benoy shor Pirta Gadol. He is the grandson of Pirta Gadol. Who's the he? Pirta, who is the father of Rabbi Elazar, who's the grandfather of Pirta. He is the grandson of Rabbi Pirta Gadol. In other words, the grandfather of Pirta is the grandson of Rabbi Pirta Gadol. But Rav Shlomo Agazi says, Perush l'Perusha. Let me explain to you what Tosfos means. Betchila kasu Pirta, benoi shel Rabbi Elazar and Pirta, Perush. Dehu ben benoi. Perush. De la Pirta zeh hasheni, the second Pirta, meaning the grandfather, who ben benoi shel Pirta Gadol, is the grandson of Pirta Gadol. Ulefi zeh ma she'amar ben benoi shel Pirta Gadol. Therefore, when the Gemara says he's the grandson of Pirta Gadol, loy koi ela Pirta hasheni, it's going on the second Pirta. What? So the question is, why do I need a Tosfos here? What else could it mean? What else could it mean? V'loy tema, don't say deleka ela trei Pirta. Don't say there are only two Pirtas. V'hachi kamar, and this is what it means to say. Amar lefanav Pirta. Pirta said, Benai shel Elazar ben Pirta. V'hadar mefarish, and then the Gemara is explaining the Pirta Harishain, the first Pirta, who ben Benai shel Pirta Gadol. He's the grandson of Pirta Hagadol, and we're calling Vikari Pirta Hagadol. We're calling Pirta Hagadol Pirta Zakenai, Pirta his grandfather, who's of Rabbi Elazar. That's the other possible way to read it. That the grandfather is Pirta Hagadol. Why can't you say that? Ben Benoy Shor Pirta Hagadol. Why would it have to say the grandson of Pirta Hagadol? V'havasagi, the name would be enough to say Pirta ben Rabbi Elazar ben Pirta. Umamelo yadana dehu zakenai. I guess then it could have said that Amar lefana Pirta benoy Rabbi Elazar ben Pirta. It didn't have to say ben benoy shel Pirta Hagadol. It could have said he's Pirta Hagadol, and we would know he's the grandfather. Elavade dachi kamar benoy shel Elazar ben Pirta. This is what it means: the son of Rabbi Elazar ben Pirta, Perush, to have a Pirta hazeh hasheni. This second Pirta ben benoy shel Pirta Hagadol. Ukefizeh kasvu oid. According to this reading, where the second Pirta, the grandfather of the first Pirta, is in turn the grandson of Pirta Hagadol, the kivan de ben benoy shel Pirta kaya Pirta sheni im came a mela de Pirta aviv shel Elazar, who's the keno shel Pirta hakatan. V'hava tlosera Pirta. There are three Pirtas. Yeah, that's how we read it. Ukvar efshel lefarish ibcha b'Tosfos. Now comes the Yovin Shemua and he says, the truth is, you could have even learned Tosfos the other way. That what Tosfos means is the second Pirta is Pirta Hagadol. I'm telling you what Tosfos means. Tosfos is explaining, don't say there are only two Pirtas, really there are three. That's how I'm understanding Tosfos. But I could have learned Tosfos that Tosfos is saying, don't say there are three, there are only twos. So we were right in not being absolutely clear what Tosfos means. We ended up reading Tosfos correctly, but it's for good reason. We weren't 100% sure how to read Tosfos, because he says it is possible to read Tosfos differently. Ukvar efshel lefarish ibcha b'Tosfos perush dehu ben benoy shel Pirta Hagadol. He's the grandson of Pirta Hagadol. Kolamer deloy teima de ikotas Pirta. Don't say there are three Pirtas. Ela b'Gemara Tana v'hadar mefarish. Maybe the Gemara is teaching and then is explaining benoy shel Elazar ben Pirta dehu Pirta Harishain. It says the son of Rabbi Elazar ben Pirta, namely dehu Pirta Harishain. The first Rabbi Pirta, not the second Rabbi Pirta, is the grandson of Rabbi Pirta Hagadol. Maybe the first Rabbi Pirta is the grandson of Rabbi Pirta Hagadol. Rabbi Pirta Harishain ben Menashe Rabbi Pirta Hagadol. Pirta Aviv shel Rabbi Elazar, the Pirta who's the father of Rabbi Elazar, maybe you would say is Zakena shel Zeh. He's the grandfather of the first one. Kolaymar v'kali the Reb Pirta Zakenai Reb Pirta Agadol. You could have learned Tosfos that way. You could have possibly learned Tosfos. Here, look back at Tosfos. The words of Tosfos are Pirush Tehu ben Benoish Reb Pirta Hagadol. He is the grandson of Pirta Hagadol. Who is the grandson of Pirta Hagadol? Pirta Aviv shel Rabbi Elazar. Pirta, the father of Elazar, who's the Keno shel Zeh, who's the grandfather of the first Pirta. That's how we're reading Tosfos. That the grandson of Reb Pirta Agadol is Pirta, the father of Elazar, the grandson of the first Pirta. But the Yovin Shemua is saying you could have theoretically learned Tosfos differently. Namely, Dahava ben Benoish Reb Pirta Agadol. He's the grandson of Pirta Agadol. And that is, the first Pirta is the grandson of Pirta Agadol. That Pirta Aviv shel Rabbi Elazar is the grandfather. But Amnam Zayira Doichek Atzim Lafarshkin, it's very doichik to say that's what Tosfos means. Dim Kain Loy Lema Ben Benoy Shel Reb Pirta. Then it didn't have to say the words Ben Benoy of Reb Pirta. If that's what it meant, then it didn't say, the Gemara didn't have to say Ben Benoy shel Reb Pirta. It could have just said Pirta, Benoy shel Elazar ben Pirta, and then define that Pirta is Reb Pirta Hagadol. In any event, the way the Yovin Shemua is understanding Tosfos is that there are three Pirtas. There's Pirta, he's a grandson of Pirta, who in turn is a grandson of Reb Pirta Hagadol. Okay, it's just interesting that there's a sefer from a Kadmon on Klolei Hashas, and he has two ways of reading this Tosfos, but ultimately he says that there are three individuals named Pirta here, and Be'ezus Hashem, we'll see everybody. We'll have to figure out when we're doing Daf Kuf Aleph this week. It depends how the day goes. Okay? Hatzlacha, everyone.
Thank you.
Kol tov. Be well. Bye.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.